Okay, Dr. Miller, we just finished the show. There's, I'm sure, so much that we were unable to do um, or talk about during the show because I really did want people to get to know you. People don't know that you have a clown, that you're a clown, and that people don't know how the passion that you have towards healing naturally. And so, I have some, if there's anything that you'd like to add to the segment, I'd appreciate it. What would you like for us to know? Ooh.
Excuse me.
I'm going to mute you. Tell me when you're done. Okay. So, Dr. Miller, is there anything you'd like to add to the show?
Yeah, I think, it's for this and so many of the things you've done, just maybe if people hear over and over again that this relentless negative message that they've been given, that there's nothing you can do, is just flat out wrong. Doctors, if doctors in that position were, to be honest, what they would say is, look, there's nothing I can do. I don't have a drug. I don't have a surgery. I don't have anything to offer you. I'm sorry. And then at least keep an open mind when people go out and try and find something else to do and not discourage them. Because, the things that we're talking about doing for the eye, not only do they work, they're 100% safe. You're not going to end up poisoning your kidneys or your liver or doing anything nasty to yourself with this. But it is going to take your time. And and I guess the other thing is just to realize that these are not magical. If you're the kind of person that needs a quick fix, you need a magical thing, you need the magic bullet, the silver lining, these things work and they work really well, but it's going to take some dedication. But if you do all these things that we're asking you to do, it's going to improve a lot of other areas of your life as well. Your blood sugar will come down, your cholesterol will improve. We also work, I didn't mention that, but we work with all the obvious things. We make sure you go out and exercise and you're eating well and you're not eating too much sugar. And, that's all a part of the program. That's kind of common sense stuff. But the specialized things, what I really focused on in the talk.
Hey, Lily, also, I think it's really critical to add for just our society out there in the Western culture is this. We got to take into account, macular degeneration took years and years and years to accumulate and to build up to a point where it's deteriorating, right? So the solution, we're so used to in this allopathic model to believe that we take a pill and the problem's gone. So we're kind of spoiled in a way that we have this immediate relief, right? It's just not reality in integrative medicine. It takes a cumulative time to build up, so it can have relief. But people have to realize it's not going to be an overnight solution. But when you do implement it and you do it repetitively and you do it consistently, you really gotta want to do it every day. Otherwise, you'll lose focus and then you won't have the results. But the great news is, yes, you can reverse it, you can cure it, you can stop it, but you gotta be willing to put the time into and do. I mean, it took years and years to build up, so it's going to take a little bit of more time to actually take care of. So you got to have that mentality and that belief system to really want to change.
Yeah, but boy, I can tell you, losing your eyesight, that is a motivator. I mean, boy, you want to motivate people. You just have them suddenly realize, wow, I'm going to have to give up my driver's license. I'm never going to play bridge again. I won't be able to go shopping on my own. It's people get scared, and I really try to stay away from fear. I don't try to motivate people with fear because they come, by the time they find me, they're so full of fear already that, it's all I can do to just get them to, quit screaming and start doing the things that are going to help them. But people do get motivated. But then there's also, you asked about working. One of the earlier questions you asked was about, is it hard to work with older people? And we talked about their kind of set in their ways and things. But, that, and this is true, again, not just for macular degeneration. This is true for so many things where you offer people hope, you offer people a solution, but it's not what their doctor is telling them about. And so even if they kind of get excited and they hear that somebody's doing something and maybe it's a little different than things, and then they hear about it and they go back and they tell their doctor, and their doctor goes, oh, that's not going to work. I wouldn't even try that. It's just waste your money, waste your time. Oh, don't do that. And so it's, you really have to, we need to make these positive messages just as insistent, but also as prevalent as this. Everywhere you look, there's something negative, and often the negativity is very subtle. Just the failure to talk about the fact that there's even another way to do it is a kind of negativity, or you're just told flat out, don't do it. It's not going to work. And then another whole talk we have to have is just this kind of, medicine is locked into this whole model of science that is just really primitive. It doesn't know how to study the emotional connection to disease. It doesn't know how to study a program where you're doing more than one thing. The whole scientific model of medicine, the double-blinded, placebo-controlled, yada yada study, that works beautifully if all you're trying to do is compare a drug against a placebo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now that works well, but you try and say, okay, we're going to change your diet. We're going to change your exercise. We're going to change your state of mind. We're going to start applying color therapy and acupressure, and you're going to exercise these special exercises for your eyes, and you're going to do microcurrent stimulation. We're going to do, all these things all at once. And the scientific model just goes, it doesn't know what to do. It can't even study that.
Yeah, fundamentally, Doc, you hit it on the nose. Our Western culture, our Western medical model has to incorporate the bioelectrical field of being a human. And they don't. They just deal with the chemical response. And until they have the full picture of what we are made up of, and we are bioelectrical responses, and a lot of these solutions that you refer to and you implement, such as color therapy, acupuncture, is all about dealing with our electrical field. And that's just part of the healing process.
Yeah, well, and the people, one of the things that this maybe someday this will make more sense to more people, but if you look at just science in general, science has adopted a quantum model. Everywhere else, in physics and chemistry and engineering, everywhere you go, science has adopted a quantum model. Medicine hasn't. Medicine is still in this kind of Newtonian model where, you hit something with a hammer and something happens. It's that there's this just very direct association between cause and effect.
Yeah.
And if you can't show that, medicine doesn't know what to do with it. But the physicists understand fields. The physicists understand that, I could simply hold something and it would have an effect, a medicine or a supplement, and it would have an effect on my body. And doctors see this all the time, but it doesn't make sense in a Newtonian model. So they just sort of look the other way.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just saying this, that there's still a place for science in medicine, even integrative medicine, but you gotta think more in terms of field theory, think the way the quantum physicists think, and quit thinking, in this kind of
Newtonian.
I want to say I agree totally with what you're saying. I want to go back and
Sure.
talk about the pills that people take. When we look at drug interactions, taking a pill could take for the right reason, prescribed for the right way, the right dose. Side effect could be death. There's over 100,000 people that die each year of taking a medication. Now you add on top of that you're not just taking one pill, you're taking 5 pills, 10 pills, 20 pills. And my registered service mark, Dr. Miller, I don't know if you know this, is you can take a pill, you can take responsibility. And so when we take responsibility for taking our health back, and how difficult it's been for people, because when we are faced with a disease, for every one doctor like you, there are 30,000 doctors that are telling you, that's a bunch of bunk.
Yeah.
So,
well, let me
good.
Let me say one thing. So first of all, that number you quote has been shown over and over again. I think the first time was 1985. It was out of Johns Hopkins, and they showed that over 100,000 people a year die. Now,
that was in hospitals. That quote came from hospitals.
No, that doesn't.
No?
That first number, that's why I broke in here.
Yeah.
There's actually a group now that's looking at adverse medical effects, and it's funded by
Great.
Department of Health and Human. Well, it's about to get defunded, unfortunately.
Of course.
Of course, yeah. But so it's estimated that the number of people harmed from medical mistakes, and this is the difference, medical mistakes every year, the number of people harmed, this is coming from the government, the most conservative voice in this kind of thing that you can find, is almost 500,000 people. Johns Hopkins also did a study. They showed that about a third of the people in hospitals at any given time are there because of some problem, some drug interaction, some complication from a surgery. But 500,000 people a year are harmed by the consequences of their medical therapy. But those are mistakes. Those
but are these harmed, causing death as well?
No, that's. I'd have to go back. It's more like 100,000 deaths out of the 40,000.
Yeah, that's
no, but that's a different 100,000. The number you're talking about, and this is really, I think, important to be clear about.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 100,000. It was about 120,000 a couple years ago, the last time they counted. Those are people, their deaths are simply due to taking dangerous substances. And this isn't surgical problems. This is just prescription drugs. 120,000 people taking drugs properly, taking drugs the way they were meant to be taken for a proper indication. That's a cute grandchild you got.
Yes. I wanted to bring her in there, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, we'll bring her in just a minute. Let me just finish the thought. So people, they're taking things properly. It was a proper indication. They're taking them the way they're supposed to be taking them. Nobody made any mistakes. The doctor didn't make a mistake. You didn't make a mistake. These are inherently dangerous things. And 120,000 people die and about 1 million are injured every year just from taking medicine. So this is just, medicine doesn't even count that in the statistics of mistakes. Those aren't mistakes. That's just the cost of doing business. The cost of doing business when your therapies are very dangerous is you're going to lose a few. 120,000 a year. That's not, no one even counts that when they're talking about numbers. So you've got, 400,000 mistakes, but you've got this other 100,000 people dying, and that they just want to sweep that number under the rug. Mercola talks about that. You can find the references to that on his site. Yeah. It's
Dr. Bruce Lipton says it's officially the third leading cause of death is our medical treatment, basically pharmaceutical. And he says unofficially, he believes it's the number one cause of death.
Well, yeah, because if you add together the cost of doing business, just the number of people who are going to be lost because these are inherently dangerous therapies, if you add that together with the mistakes, now you've got medical treatment as the major cause of death in this country.
Exactly.
So, and the last thing I want to do is discourage people from getting treatment, because I do believe that if I were to break a leg, I want to go to a Western doctor. Western medicine does a really good job at, repairing and doing things like that, emergency situations. But long term, there's nothing like nutrition and these exercises, the microcurrent, everything that you're talking about.
Yeah.
These are all things we can control.
Yeah. And just be people being better advocates for themselves. Alzheimer's disease is a classic example of this. One of the reasons why we've devoted, one of the groups I was with that hosted ACIM, you'll learn about it, the Academy of Comprehensive Integrative Medicine, Doctors Who Rock. But, we've devoted this entire year to neuro regeneration. So you're going to be hearing more about this.
Great.
But the whole thing with Alzheimer's, one of the reasons why there's such an interest in integrative treatments for Alzheimer's is that the drugs have done zero, nothing, zero, not even improved the symptoms. Tens of billions of dollars spent on research and zero, nothing. And so, and yet doctors put people on these drugs knowing they weren't going to do anything, knowing they were going to be harmful, but they had nothing else to offer. All they know how to do is give a drug. They gave the drug. So you want to, yes, if you're sick, go seek out care, but ask good questions. What's the chances this is going to help me? What are the risks? What's it going to cost me? Is there another way to do this? Is there a safer, easier way to start before I have to accept taking a dangerous drug? Just ask.
Chemotherapy is less than 3% effective.
2.1. And I've got doctors that come on my show that are all I'm proactive. They're alternative, integrative, functional. And their success rate for 5 years is, 70%. So something's got to change. And, I am so grateful to doctors like you that are stepping outside the box, because, I had Dr. Carlos Garcia, who is he helps people heal the body when they've been diagnosed with cancer. And I said on the show, people are afraid, doctors are afraid of losing their license. And Dr. Carlos Garcia goes, they're not going to lose their license. They're not going to lose their license. Yeah, they're going to make it difficult for you, but they can't take away your license. And I'm thinking, well, what happened to Wakefield, and what happened to all these other doctors that have stepped out of
in California, where I practice, the legislature actually, because of a lot of lobbying years ago, actually passed a law saying that the only therapy I'm allowed to legally propose for someone is surgery, chemotherapy, or
And
radiation therapy.
That's right.
So,
it's insane. It's literally insane.
Yeah.
But
well,
there is hope. I think just coming back to that all the time, there is hope. There are people out there doing things that work, and I think the chemotherapy, that's a good point. There are ways you can deal even with something dangerous like cancer. That's another thing I talk about. But
great.
So just to reinforce that it's not just Lillian saying this. There is a lot of people who have had the diagnosis of cancer. They're walking around now. They're healthy, and they never had surgery, chemotherapy, and including, just to go back, if you want to go back, read the New York Times back in the first Bush presidency. In the first Bush presidency, in the first year, Bush was, and I'm saying that I'm not giving away any secret medical information here. This is on the front page of the New York Times back when the news actually reported stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Bush had a polyp. He had another colonoscopy in the first year. They found a polyp. This one had cancer in it. What did they do? The next day, he's on Air Force One going off to an alternative cancer therapy center in Germany.
Wow.
He's like 90 years old. He's jumping out of planes right now, doing parachuting on his 90th birthday. No trace of cancer, never had chemotherapy, never had surgery, never had radiation therapy. And all of that treatment in Germany was paid for by the insurance plans that all of the people in the federal branch of the government get. If you're in the executive branch, or if you're a congressman or a senator, your insurance will pay for these kinds of treatments.
Amazing. So before we go, because as you can tell, Bailey, Jonathan, Rylan, come in here.
On, bring him in.
Yeah. I would love for you to give advice for my listening, viewing friends as Dr. Bombolini.
Oh, Dr. Bombolini. Oh. Well, it's Dr. Bombolini. One of the things he talks about is, how did grandma ever get on 17 different drugs? It takes a very skilled doctor to put someone on 17 different drugs. Usually it starts with something very, very simple. Grandma has a sore elbow, and so they give her maybe ibuprofen. But then the ibuprofen, it upsets her stomach. And so they give her 2 drugs for her stomach. But now, because of the drugs on her stomach, her vision is all doubled. She can't see. And so they have to put her on 3 gentler drugs for her stomach and 2 drugs for her eyes. But now she can't sleep. 3 more drugs. She wakes up after a good night's sleep, and suddenly she's on a whole handful of drugs, and she can't pee. Oh, dear. And so 3 more drugs for that. She's constipated, 2 for that. And it just goes on and on. Suddenly grandma's on a big pile of drugs, and she doesn't feel so good. That's how grandma gets on 17 different drugs.
So this is Bailey.
Whoa, hello.
Do you hear him? That's Bailey. And Jonathan, come here, Jonathan. Come here, listen up. Come here. You want to come here? No, Rylan, come here.
Oh, don't be
Rylan,
shy.
over there. Come here, Rylan. Can you give me the phone? Can you come here? Say hi.
Oh, you got to get them on dancing when the music comes on too.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
I know.
they sing the song. Can you sing the song, Mimi's theme song? Okay. But anyway, this means it's time for me to go.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. We look forward to seeing you again. And
let's do your ending again.
Okay. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day
ever.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Tim, we'll talk tomorrow.
Bye, Lily.
Bye.
Bye, Damon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.